Benjamin Franklin Barrus, Even If You Were Scared, read by Greg Sears, second great-grandson. Glenn, are you coming? Truman hollered as he ran past his house. Yes, answered Glenn, and I will beat you there. Running like the wind, the two cousins chased each other up the street. Grandpa Benny was already sitting on his porch, casually cutting a curve into a stick with his blade. When all the neighbor children were gathered, he could start. He loved telling them stories from his past. Soon the front lawn was filled with eager, happy faces. It was time. His big grin peeked through his long white beard and mustache, and with a twinkle in his eyes, he loudly began, "Have you ever been afraid? Hmm?" He leaned forward. "Maybe you were scared just a little?" The children immediately sat up straight and nodded their heads. "Well, there was a time when I was also." He had their attention. This was going to be a memorable tale. Putting down his knife, Grandpa Benny set the stage by making a large, swooping gesture. A long time ago, when everyone in the Salt Lake Valley lived in the East, they hoped for a better life in the West. Each year, large groups of Latter-day Saints would go in wagons filled with supplies and travel for miles and miles across the prairie on their way to the Rocky Mountains. Our family was set to go in 1853. We were part of the Appleton M. Harmon Wagon Train Company and left in June that summer. There was my father and mother, my older married sister with her husband, and my 4 younger siblings. Pointing to himself, Grandpa proudly stated, "At 15, I was the oldest boy. Are any of you 15? A few in the back raised their hands. "Very good." Smiling, he continued, "Back then I was a pretty good horse rider." He stopped, then with a hearty laugh said, "Ha ha, I still am." The children all giggled. As we were ready to leave, the captain of our company, whose name was Harmon, came up to our wagon and said, "Benjamin, I would like you to join the group of men who are in charge of a herd of cattle and keep them safe." Being just a lad, I was very flattered to be included. We would ride our horses all day long and keep the animals together as we traveled. At night, we took turns standing guard to protect them. It was a very difficult and dangerous task. Now, would you like to hear why I was afraid while coming across the plains? Yes, the audience cheered. First, there were rattlesnakes. And with a dramatic move, Grandpa Benny raised his large hand into a striking motion, curving 2 fingers and said, "Hiss!" The children fell back and shrieked, "Ah!" Striking again, he made a funny grimace. "Now don't be afraid. Hiss!" he then encouraged. "Come on, children, join with me." Laughing, the group imitated him. Hiss! While striking with their small fingers. "Wonderful," he beamed. Noticing snakes on our path was crucial, for any slight distraction could mean trouble for us. Next, there were big, loud thunderstorms. And as Grandpa said this, he clapped his hands together with a resounding boom. Then he dropped his hands to slap his thighs over and over, sounding like rain. The children joined in, making a tremendous storm. Talking over the cloudburst, he roared, "When the thunder and lightning startled the cattle, they would run off in every direction. We had to be on the lookout for storms and always be ready." Then Grandpa Benny exclaimed, "As fast as you can, say, 'Indian on a horse! Indian on a horse!'" the group repeated. "There!" They looked as he pointed to an imaginary hillside, lining the horizon, observing our every move, where Indians posed like statues on their horses. If one of our calves wandered off, Quick as a fox, an Indian would swoop towards it and ride off with his prize. As he joined the others, they triumphantly galloped away with their feathers blowing in the wind, yelling, "Woo, woo, 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 woo." The Indians, with their clever abilities, were frightful. As Grandpa Benny stood up, swaying back and forth, he put one hand behind his head, sticking his fingers up to look like feathers, and while his other hand gently patted his mouth over and over again, making a victorious sound, imitating an Indian victory dance. Of course, the children stood up to dance and holler with him. He paused, then bellowed, "Now, stomp your feet!" Grandpa showed them with a stomp, stomp, stomp. "That's it. Keep going," he said. "You sound just like a stampeding herd of buffalo. Look out, they're coming straight towards us. Stomp, stomp, stomp." The group proudly copied him with a stomp, stomp, stomp. Luckily, they turned and passed us by. "Whew, that was a close one," Grandpa Benny added. We stayed constantly aware during our trek to the Salt Lake Valley. We never knew when hundreds of buffalo might rush towards our wagons. And then, in the dark of a night, a pack of wolves would make themselves known. "Ow!" Grandpa howled. The wolves talked to each other across the prairie. "Ow!" Were they trying to find their dinner? It was frightening as we could hear them getting closer and closer. Someone in our group had to stay awake at night and keep watch to protect our families and the cattle from the pack. "Now, can you answer me?" Looking up towards the sky, he howled again. "Ow!" Tilting their heads way back, the children replied, "Ow!" "Good, very good," Grandpa Benny applauded. When all of the hissing and clapping and dancing and stomping and howling ended, Grandpa Benny smiled, dropped down in his chair with a sigh, then seriously said, "To be sure, crossing the plains was a great adventure, but with faith I overcame my fears. So, children, I am confident that you can do hard things too, even if you're scared." Grandpa Benny finished his grand performance with a polite bow. Then, to everyone's surprise and delight, Grandma Lovina came outside with a piece of honey candy for all of the cast members and declared, "In honor of Grandpa Benny's birthday, let us celebrate with a sweet treat." "Hooray!" they claimed. "Thank you." The children had been part of a show they would talk about for years to come. And Grandpa Benny, even though tired, loved every minute of it. The end.